A few days ago, Death Battle had just announced their episode 200, that being Ruby Rose from the series RWBY versus Maka from the anime Soul Eater. Now, this is episode 200, which means it's a very special episode. But the thing about this matchup is, it is not quite as big as something like Goku vs Superman or Mario vs Sonic. So this raises the question, why did Death Battle choose this as their episode 200? Now, the answer lies in the name of one man, that man being Monty. Let's take it back to 2007. 2007 was the release of Monty's breakout animation, Haloid. It was a fight animation featuring Samus Aran from the Metroid series and Master Chief from the Halo series. This episode actually predates the first episode of Death Battle by 3 years. So in some way, Monty is a pioneer of the crossover versus animation genre, a bit popular on YouTube now.
Well, I can't spoil anything, obviously, but Monty and I had talked about, because he really wanted Ruby in Death Battle, right? And we had talked about potential matchups, and one of them, the one that he really wanted, was RWBY versus Maka from Soul Eater. Is that the right name? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Good. It's been a little while since I looked at Soul Eater. And we were looking into that. Unfortunately, there's no really good 3D model of Maka for us to use, so we're going to have to figure something out before we can do that. But we do want to do that.
Someday we will do that because Monty was a big inspiration for the show, and that was.
It is pretty clear that Monty was influenced by Maka when creating RWBY, especially since he himself came up with the matchup. The inspiration is there, the similarities are apparent. So, with all of that in mind, we have Maka a character who inspired Monty to create his biggest work yet, fighting Monty's biggest work in the show that Monty himself inspired or mentored. In my opinion, that is definitely an episode worthy of being in the 200 spot, and I am looking forward to seeing it.
Oh my god, what the fuck is this? Oh my god! What the fuck is wrong with you?
Amazing. Every word of what you just said was wrong.
Before I start this video, I want to offer a brief little disclaimer. Now, I will say this, lately I've been avoiding making reaction videos to other channels. I know that's something I used to do a lot back in the day, but for various reasons, I have decided against this because it has gotten me into YouTube drama in the past and led to accusations of me harassing fellow content creators, so I want to offer this little disclaimer before I begin this. I am not harassing this particular individual. I am only merely reacting to their videos and opinions. Furthermore, I will not be linking or naming this particular YouTuber, as again, in the past, I have been accused of sending my fans to harass people when that has, of course, never been the case. Now, if you choose to seek out this individual on your own time and react to them, that is your own choosing. So, with that being said, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So, as you all know from my rant video on RWBY vs Maka, I've expressed a vast amount of disinterest in covering this new death battle. But given the reception of that particular rant video, I decided that even though I have very little plans of actually covering this death battle, or even making a prediction on it, because I just really can't be bothered to care, I figured that I might as well at least give you guys something. So what I came up with is I came across this little video which is trying to explain why this individual believes that RWBY deserved to be the 200th episode, and as you can tell, I take issue with some of the things that he says. And while I'm mostly responding to this one individual's videos, these arguments have been parroted by other people within the comment section of the death battle videos leading up to this, so this is not just this one individual's opinion. So, with that being said, let's begin. So, essentially, as you saw from some of the clips, this guy's argument for why he believes that RWBY and Maka should be the 200th episode and deserves to be the 200th episode is because Monty. That's effectively his main argument. Now, the first thing I take issue is this. He makes the assertion that Monty was a pioneer in the versus debate genre, even pointing out that his very first animation predated even Death Battle. Now, while that all sounds well and good, here's the thing. To say that Monty was a pioneer in this, I take great issue with, because before Death Battle, you had Deadliest Warrior, which was one of the first shows to really get the ball rolling on such a concept. And even before Deadliest Warrior, you had MTV's Celebrity Deathmatch, which, while was mostly a comedy thing and not taken seriously, it was also a show that would take various celebrities and sometimes fictional characters like Beavis and Butthead and have them fight to the death. And before even that, you had movies like Freddy vs. Jason and Alien vs. Predator, and before even the Alien vs. Predator movie, you had the Alien vs. Predator video game and RoboCop vs. Terminator comics, which were also made from a video game as well. So I would say, to try to make the argument or even the assertion that in many ways without Monty, Death Battle would have never existed, I find to be a reach at best, because while it is true that Death Battle does say that Monty inspired them, you know who else Death Battle listed as an inspiration for them? And one of the big reasons that made them want to do Death Battle? Deadliest Warrior, which makes sense. Because I would argue shows like Deadliest Warrior deserve far more accolade for actually making this concept more mainstream. Because shows like Deadliest Warrior were mainstream television, very popular on cable back in the day, and then was later continued on Netflix. In fact, without Deadliest Warrior, I likely would have never gotten involved in the community as I did, because Deadliest Warrior is what started my obsession with things like versus debates. And while Deadliest Warrior was also unfortunately cut short by the death of a cast and crew member, here would be my question. If we're going to go off of this logic of, well, this matchup is very significant because of Monty, and, you know, Monty died, and that's sad, and while it does suck that Monty is dead, couldn't you make this exact same argument for doing some kind of Death Battle vaguely related to Deadliest Warrior, or the crew member that sadly perished, which led to Deadliest Warrior being canceled? Because you can make that exact same argument. And effectively what he goes on further to say, and what he showed in this clip that he got of Wiz and Boomstick explaining why they wanted to do this matchup is, well, I get told this a lot by everybody who tries to justify this matchup. They have one argument, well, Monty wanted it. Okay, well, here's my problem with this. Even if Monty wanted this matchup, it doesn't change the fact that the matchup is shit. All the problems that I listed in my Death Battle rant with this matchup still applies. This matchup feels small, petty. There's nothing of significance and weight about this matchup. There's no legacy here, like with Mario vs. Sonic. This is not Goku vs. Superman. This is nothing. This is just such a small, worthless little matchup. And again, the only reason, from what I can gather, at least from what you're asserting, is that Monty wants to see this matchup because he basically made a character that you might as well have just said that his character is just a cheap knockoff of Maka, but for the sake of respecting the man's intentions and memory, I will give the benefit of the doubt and say that he was merely inspired by the character of Maka, just like how he was also inspired by Little Red Riding Hood when he wrote the character of Ruby, even though that character has nothing to do with Red Riding Hood, and neither does any other of the RWBY cast, who are supposed to be based on modern interpretations of iconic fairy tale characters, but have nothing to do with those characters, but whatever. So, because Monty wants this matchup, that automatically means it deserves to be episode 200. And again, here's another big problem with this. Even if I wanted to give you that, Monty is gone. Why not do this matchup a long time ago? Why wait so long to do it? I know Wiz and Boomstick claim that, well, we just need to get some 3D models, but I find that to be a poor excuse, because when they were under the thumb of Rooster Teeth, they probably could have called up the RWBY animation crew to get this ball rolling a long time ago, back when RWBY was still airing. Because there was like, what, 3 seasons of RWBY, I believe, before Monty perished? And even then, Death Battle had its own animation crew, so I really find that to be a very poor excuse for why they couldn't have done it. Because they had plenty of time to do Goku vs. Superman 3 fucking times and do Mario vs. Sonic twice. So there was plenty of opportunity to get this done. Because like I mentioned in my video, a huge problem with this matchup is Death Battle waited too long. Monty is gone. Rooster Teeth is gone. And a lot of the enthusiasm for RWBY is also dead. Death Battle waited far too long, and I have seen people say in my own Discord that they were interested in this matchup, but after doing some thinking about it, especially after I made my video, they said that, you know what, now that I think about it, Death Battle waited too long. And now, basically, nobody cares anymore, outside of either a subset of blind Death Battle fans that will go along with anything Death Battle does, and a subset of RWBY fans that want to say, well, Monty wanted it. So let's really break down what's really going on here. So effectively, what we got here is a guy's personal fan fiction vanity project. He creates an OC based on a character that he really liked. Because it was no secret, and I looked into this a while back, the main thing that the RWBY crew did when they were getting together the inspiration to do RWBY was apparently what Monty and his friends did was sit down, watch a bunch of their favorite anime, and take down a bunch of notes of the things that they liked in it, and then decided to turn it into a TV show based on that. So what I can gather from this is Monty liked the character of Maka, so he made a character that basically is just Maka, or as I would put it, an inferior copy of Maka, and now he wants to see his original character, Do Not Steal, fight his favorite anime character. That seems a tad bit stupid from my point of view, because this is effectively the same logic that people like Fan War uses. He has openly admitted to me in private discussions that one of the main things that determines the matches that he wants to see is whether he personally likes it or if it comes from a TV show or video game that he personally likes. Effectively, he treats Fan War like his own personal fan fiction project. And that's all this comes off as to me. This sounds like something for Monty, but certainly not something for the rest of us to enjoy. And again, it shows because this matchup is so shallow. A guy likes a character, he writes another character based on that character, and that's that. So effectively, this matchup is even more shitty than what I thought before. Because originally when I would hear people talk about this matchup, they would say, oh, well, they're both high school girls that save the world and wield sides. Again, even if you want to try to make the argument that this should happen because of Monty, again, why not make that exact same argument for any other inspiration of death battle that died tragically, or any other writers that have unfortunately perished in recent time, such as Kentaro Miura, who died not too long ago, or even Akira Toriyama. I didn't see Death Battle making any tributes to Akira Toriyama when he sadly left us. I didn't see Death Battle make any meaningful tributes to Kentaro Miura. And while I guess you could make the argument that, well, those were not people that personally inspired or worked with Death Battle, but why does that need to be the case? Again, this feels more like a personal thing to Death Battle rather than an actual fun matchup. And even then, here's another problem. Death Battle already did a tribute to Monty, which this video mentions, by the way, that, oh, well, they did Samus Aran versus Boba Fett, and that was a clear tribute to Monty, so we already did this. And you could also make the exact same argument for every other RWBY match that they've done. You could literally say that, oh, well, this RWBY matchup was done for the sake of Monty. Or does those ones not count because that was not Monty's personal pick? And at the end of the day, none of this explains why it's worthy to be episode 200. Because the 100th episode was Mario vs. Sonic. And like I mentioned in my rant video, say what you want about Mario vs. Sonic, that was a big legacy matchup based on a decades-long rivalry. So there was at least some reason behind it. Not to mention, it was a rematch. So those are always going to have some weight and significance and stakes. Here, again, it doesn't feel like there is any stakes. You could just take this argument and copy and paste it for Yang versus Tifa, Blake versus Mikasa, and so forth. You get the idea. None of this adequately explains why this should be episode 200, especially when you consider that apparently the original episode 200, from what I've been being told, was supposed to be Ash versus Yugi, which I'm willing to believe because I can far more better believe that they originally wanted to do Ash versus Yugi as the 200th episode, because while I hate that matchup and have made videos explaining why I think that it's a terrible idea, I can at least understand in principle why that would make sense, because it's very similar to something like Mario versus Sonic. And again, none of this explains why RWBY vs. Maka is a good matchup. It is still an incredibly flawed match, and knowing that this is nothing more than just Monty's personal matchup, and again, it's a little bit lame and I want to say somewhat kind of douchey to be able to just go and say, oh hey, I created this character and now I want to have this character fight my favorite anime character. That comes off like some Sonic fandom level shit, where they'll take their original character, in air quotes, and have that character either be friends with Sonic, go on journeys with Sonic, or even fight Sonic or other Sonic characters. Like, this, for some reason, this makes me think of shit like Sonic.exe or Jeff versus Slender Man and crap like that. It just feels like fan fiction, vanity projects, not anything of significance. Were there really that many people debating who would win between RWBY versus Maka? Because this never felt like that kind of matchup, at least not from my experience. Yeah, every once in a while, maybe you'd see somebody on a Death Battle community say, who do you think would win between RWBY and Maka? But it was never that kind of matchup. I've seen far more enthusiasm and debate between Goku and Saitama than I have this match. And once again, none of this changes the reality of this matchup. Death Battle waited too long. What good is doing this matchup when Monty isn't even around to see it? too little too late. I said this in the comment of a video, and I'll say it here. This is the equivalent of, imagine you have a best friend, a family member, or a wife or husband, and you promised to take them to that place that's very special to them. Maybe a restaurant, maybe to go see that movie they always wanted to see, and they sadly perish, and then you take them to go do that thing that they wanted to do years after the fact. What's even the point in doing it? You're not getting the toothpaste back in the tube on this one as far as I'm concerned. And again, I don't find any of this to be compelling arguments for why this should be episode 200. And just using Monty as an excuse does not work, because I see this all the time in the death battle comment sections. But Monty wanted it, but Monty wanted it, but Monty wanted it. Okay, why does that hold any more weight than any other matchup that either a member of the Rooster Teeth crew wanted to do or a member of the Death Battle crew wanted to do? Because this is also why we're getting Light versus Columbo. Not because any of us want to see it, but because it's the personal vanity project of one of the writers / researchers, Liam. And I think that that is an equally bullshit reason to do that matchup. So, yeah, I am just not convinced by any of this. I still find this matchup to be weak and bad. Nobody can tell me why this matchup is good. All they can tell me is Monty wanted to see it. And if all this matchup is going to be is just a glorified tribute to Monty, then all that's going to do is just leave a bitter taste in people's mouth, because it's going to feel forced and it's going to feel sad because, you know, the guy's gone. While I'm not saying that tribute matchups are not good, I mean, they can be good if done right. Like if Death Battle did some kind of DBZ matchup as a tribute to Akira Toriyama, depending on how it's done, it could be done well. But again, we've already done this. We've done several RWBY matchups. We've done the tribute to Monty, and it being Monty's personal matchup doesn't automatically give it any kind of weight, because take away the fact that Monty worked at Rooster Teeth, he made a show, and he inspired Death Battle. Take all that away, and what do you got? It's just one guy's matchup where he made a character based on another character, and he wants to have his character fight that character. Doesn't that sound kind of lame? Because I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty lame, and maybe just a tad bit self-centered, at least from my point of view. But what do you think about this matchup? Do you think I'm being too harsh on it? What do you think about this guy's arguments? Do you think that he has a point, or do you agree with me that they waited too long to do this and that this matchup is just too small, weak, and there's no good connections between these characters other than the fact that one is basically a cheap knockoff of the other? And I'll see you guys around next time.
Back again. Shady's back.